Hello and welcome to Know It All Haven. I'm Thomas, and today I'm taking you back to one of the darkest and most harrowing survival stories in American history. This is the story of the Donner Party, an expedition that set out for a new life in the West, but instead found itself trapped in a frozen nightmare high in the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's a tale of ambition, misjudgment, hunger, and impossible choices. And yes, it's a story where some survived, but not without paying a terrible price. Let's rewind to the spring of 1846. A group of American pioneers, around 81 people in total, left Independence, Missouri, with dreams of reaching the golden lands of California. They were families, including many children, packed into covered wagons, full of hope. The group was led by George Donner and James Reed. At first, the journey westward along the California Trail seemed to go well. But near South Pass, they were approached by a man named Wales Bonney, who persuaded them to take a supposed shortcut, the Hastings Cutoff. It was a new route, advertised by a man named Lansford Hastings, who claimed it would save time. The group diverted from the main trail to Fort Bridger, expecting Hastings to guide them. But Hastings wasn't there. Instead, the fort's owner, Jim Bridger, encouraged them to take the route anyway. He told them it was flat, easy, and full of grass and water. James Reed, trusting the promise, convinced the group to proceed. It was a terrible mistake. The route turned out to be a nightmare. There was no road, just wilderness. The wagons got stuck in canyons. What was supposed to take a week stretched into a month. Then came the salt flats near the Great Salt Lake, a burning, waterless desert. Oxen collapsed, people suffered, and supplies dwindled. As conflicts rose, James Reed was expelled from the group after a deadly dispute. His wife and children had to continue on without him. And time was running out. If they didn't cross the Sierra Nevada before winter, they'd be trapped. They didn't make it. By October, snow began to fall a full month earlier than expected. The mountain passes became impassable. Just 5 miles from safety, they were forced to stop and make camp near Truckee Lake. As the snow piled up, the wagons turned into makeshift shelters, and the settlers tried to survive. They slaughtered the last of their animals and buried the meat in the snow. But even that quickly ran out. Mothers wept because they had no food for their starving children. People boiled hides and chewed bark. Eventually, they could hardly move. Even gathering firewood was nearly impossible. Then came the most desperate decision. In mid-December, a group of 16 people, 10 men, 5 women, and 2 children, set off on foot to get help. They carried almost no food. They thought the journey to Sutter's Fort would take 6 days. It took a month. Only 7 survived. To make it, they resorted to cannibalism. Those who died first became the only means of survival for the others. Back at the camp, conditions were just as horrifying. More people died. Snow buried the bodies. Some were eaten. The survivors were skeletal, freezing, and barely conscious. But one man hadn't given up. James Reed, the same man who had been exiled, made it to California. When the wagon train didn't arrive, he knew something was wrong and helped organize a rescue. Several rescue attempts failed due to weather and war. But finally, on February 19th, 1847, the first rescuers reached the starving pioneers. Some were so weak they couldn't speak. Some were dying as help arrived. Over the next 2 months, 4 relief groups came. Many of those left behind didn't survive. When the final team arrived, they found just 1 man alive in a cabin filled with human remains. That man was Louis Keseberg. In total, about half the Donner Party survived. The rest died from cold, starvation, and sickness. And for those who made it out, the nightmare didn't end. They lived with the trauma and the public shame. Many were branded as cannibals. Their story became one of the most infamous tales of the American West. But the story of the Donner Party is not just about horror. It's also a story of determination, family, and survival. Of a group of people who tried to reach a better life and paid the ultimate price